An incompetent person as a president? What kind of prefab hut is your company? The lively atmosphere at the reunion froze with Todd's words. Our classmates looked at Todd in disbelief. Huh? Prefab? I said in confusion, and Todd started laughing. Yeah. He's probably just the president of a tiny company, right? The room fell silent. Why can't Todd read the room? Since long ago, Todd has looked down on me and mocked me. Today, I can't forgive him. But fate hadn't abandoned me. What awaited Todd was a surprising turn of events. My name is Luke, and I'm 40. Currently, I live with my wife, Julia, and our son, Eugene. I met Julia when I was a student. I was always shy and struggled to interact with people, but Julia actively approached me. She was bright, cute, and popular, and I was truly lucky to marry her. Meeting Julia turned my life around completely. Then, our son, Eugene, was born. Eugene just started middle school this year. He chose a private school to study French more intensively. The tuition is higher than public schools, but I'm willing to spend for Eugene's dreams. He also attends a French conversation school after regular classes. Eugene dreams of becoming a diplomat and traveling the world, so he's dedicated to studying foreign languages. For his age, he's very mature and makes me proud. Surrounded by Julia, who's cheerful and caring, and Eugene, who's kind, I lead a simple yet happy life. However, that summer, something happened. Eugene came home crying. Eugene, though, is usually very resilient and doesn't cry easily. But this time, he was sobbing uncontrollably. Julia and I were bewildered. Eugene, what happened? Even when Julia gently asked, Eugene just looked down. He bit his lip, appearing frustrated. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. Mom and Dad are on your side. I decided to leave him be. Upon hearing this, Eugene went back to his room. This has never happened before. Julia sighed with concern. Something must have happened at school. Though I felt helpless, I decided to wait until Eugene was ready to talk. The next day, Eugene woke up as if nothing had happened and went to school. Julia and I spent the day puzzled about the previous day's events. But that evening, Eugene came home crying again. Eugene, wasn't today the speech and debate club? Didn't you go? Eugene looked down. Then he quietly muttered. It doesn't matter if I go to the club. Julia and I exchanged glances. Why would Eugene say something like that? Eugene, who has always worked harder than anyone, saying something so defeatist isn't like him at all. It's not meaningless. Your hard work is why you're doing well in school, right? Even when I said that, Eugene shook his head. But you can't become a diplomat unless your parents are important people, right? I was taken aback. There's no truth to that. Someone must have told him, and he believed it. I smiled and said, that's not true. Even if your mom and dad aren't important people, you can become anything, including a diplomat. If you have the ability. Eugene looked surprised. Really? Is that true? Yes. I don't know who said that, but it's nonsense. Julia added. Eugene looked at us with wide eyes, like he was hit with a revelation. Great. Eugene wiped his tears and looked relieved. Wondering who fed him such nonsense, Eugene slowly began to speak. Ryan from my class said that. His dad is a company president and is running for city council. He said only people like him can become diplomats. Apparently, Ryan's father is quite an elite. Eugene thought he couldn't become a diplomat without a father like that. Even if it was said by a child, it's too outrageous. Eugene told me something even more shocking. Ryan always says terrible things to me. He even said I cheated when I got a perfect score on a test. I couldn't believe my ears. Eugene studies harder than anyone, and his test scores are excellent. It's unforgivable to say something like that. I remembered being teased the same way in the past. The truth is, I grew up without parents since birth. I was raised in a foster home. To avoid being teased for living there, I focused on studying hard. As a result, I had the top grades in my class in middle school. However, there was a classmate who didn't think well of me. The name of that classmate is Todd. Todd came from a privileged background and received an elite education to get into good high schools and colleges. In middle school, Todd also had good grades but couldn't surpass mine. Whenever test rankings were posted, my name was always at the top, with Todd's right behind. Upon seeing that, Todd would cause a scene in front of everyone. Luke lives in a foster home. There's no way someone like him can get good grades. He's cheating. Todd glared at me as he said that. I wasn't cheating. My good test results were due to my hard work. Yet, Todd made it seem as if I had cheated to boost my scores. However, my good attitude in classes paid off, so Mr. Harris, our homeroom teacher, didn't believe Todd and raised his voice. There's no way Luke would do something like that. Stop saying such nonsense. When Mr. Harris reprimanded him, Todd reluctantly returned to the classroom with a dissatisfied look. Since then, Todd kept provoking me. At first, I ignored him, but his insults crossed the line. Hey, poor kid. Don't come within 100 meters of me. I don't want your poverty rubbing off on me. It was unbelievable that a classmate would call me poor. Other classmates just snickered without helping me. During those times, Mr. Harris and a few kind classmates always stood by me. Mr. Harris always cared about me, knowing I was raised in a foster home. Really, Todd is such a jerk. Don't worry about him, Luke. He just envies your talent for studying. Mr. Harris's words were always warm and filled my heart. As I entered my third year of middle school and had to decide my future, my worries grew. The teachers at the foster home were very kind, and part of me wanted to stay there forever. But I also felt that I couldn't rely on the home forever. I wanted to grow up quickly and become independent. During career counseling, Mr. Harris kindly said to me, "There are scholarships for high school now. With your grades, you can get into a good high school or university." He showed me a scholarship pamphlet, but my mind was already made up. I decided not to continue my education and start working after middle school. I wanted to become a self-reliant adult. When I told Mr. Harris my decision, he looked a bit disappointed but supported me. If you keep your ambitions high, you'll achieve them. I know you can do it, Luke. With his words in my heart, I graduated from middle school. I haven't seen Todd since then. As I recalled those days, my chest ached. I never imagined that my beloved son, Eugene, would face similar remarks. It's often said that the nail that sticks out gets hammered down, and Eugene must be that nail. I looked straight at Eugene. Ryan is probably just jealous of you, Eugene. Don't worry about it. Huh? Jealous? Julia nodded beside me. People tend to feel envious when they see someone more capable than themselves. But Eugene, there are two kinds of people in this world. Those who strive to become like the capable person and those who act mean. Which one do you want to be? When I asked him that, Eugene immediately replied, I want to be someone who works hard to become capable. I patted Eugene on the head and said, then don't worry about Ryan. Focus on how you can improve yourself. Eugene's eyes sparkled. Got it. I'll do my best. With that, Eugene headed to his French conversation class, which he had skipped before. There are unreasonable people in this world, but it's best not to pay them any mind. Let them say what they want. I wanted Eugene to focus only on his future, ignoring those who look down on hardworking people. Since then, Eugene hasn't come home crying. One day, a speech contest was announced at Eugene's school. Unfortunately, Julia had work, so I attended alone. I headed to the school and entered the gym, which was the contest venue. Many parents were already seated. I quickly found an empty seat and sat down. Then, I felt a gaze from the seat next to me. When I turned to look, I was shocked. Sitting next to me was Todd, who had bullied me back in middle school. I pretended not to notice and faced forward, but it was too late. Todd spoke to me. Oh, your kid goes here too? It's a private school, you must be struggling with the high tuition, right? Todd looked down on me, just like in middle school. I tried to stay calm, but my hands were shaking. I have a job now, so I'm not struggling financially. When I said that, Todd laughed. With just a middle school education, your job options are limited. No need to put on a brave face. As Todd was saying that, the speech contest began. The first speaker was Ryan, who had been teasing Eugene. Todd smirked and started setting up his video camera. Then he said something surprising to me. The first speaker is my son. He's talented, just like me. I was speechless. So Ryan was Todd's son. The saying like father, like son seemed fitting. Ryan took the stage and started his speech. But he seemed nervous, his voice was trembling. Additionally, his speech was halting, as if he hadn't memorized it. The audience was murmuring at the less than stellar speech. Todd was watching with a nervous sweat. After Ryan finished, it was Eugene's turn. Eugene had practiced hard for this day. He delivered a magnificent speech fluently using 2 foreign languages. When he finished, the audience erupted in applause. I had never felt prouder as a father. Todd looked astonished. As Eugene left the stage, he spotted me and waved, and I beamed back, waving. Seeing this, Todd's face showed even more surprise. After the contest ended, he said to me, "Your son spoke confidently, but it's a shame he was born to a poor father like you. No matter how capable he is. Being poor means he can't do anything." I was genuinely angry, but I couldn't let my anger explode here. I chose to endure it. As I furrowed my brow, Todd provoked me further. "I run a company and am running for city council. In the end, I'll be the winner. You're just a loser." I wondered what Todd was competing with me for. I had no intention of competing with him. I thought, enough is enough. And said casually, "Todd, you're still impressive. Good luck." Todd looked smug. Not wanting to talk to him anymore, I quickly left the scene. A few days later, I received an email. It was an invitation to a middle school reunion. It seemed it would also celebrate Mr. Harris's retirement. Since Todd would likely attend the reunion, I hesitated. But I wanted to see Mr. Harris and congratulate him personally on his retirement. Though I was conflicted, I decided it wouldn't be right not to attend just because of Todd, so I mustered up the courage to go. On the day of the reunion, I arrived at the venue with nervous steps. The event was held at a local restaurant. Many of my classmates were already there. They hadn't changed much, all chatting happily. I looked around but didn't see Todd yet. Feeling a bit relieved, I searched for Mr. Harris. I spotted him, joyfully talking with classmates. He noticed me and approached with a happy smile. "Luke, how have you been? You've grown up so well, I'm delighted." Mr. Harris put a hand on my shoulder, beaming. "It's thanks to you, sir. Without you, I might not have graduated from middle school. You listened to me when I needed it." When I said that, Mr. Harris laughed. "No, Luke. It's all the result of your hard work. Your efforts made it meaningful. Truly wonderful. I'm proud to have been your teacher." I felt happy to hear that from Mr. Harris. "All right, before Todd arrives, I'll congratulate you on your retirement and then leave." As I thought that, there was a commotion at the entrance. I looked over and saw Todd there. Todd had finally arrived. As I was taken aback, Todd approached Mr. Harris. "Oh, talking with the poor guy, huh?" Todd said with a sneer. Mr. Harris was shocked by Todd's words. "Todd, how can you say such rude things?" The classmates around us were in an uproar. Todd continued quickly. But it's true. Luke is a poor guy with just a middle school education. Everyone thinks the same, even if they don't say it." I was speechless. I couldn't believe he said such things at a reunion. Some classmates even laughed softly. Since it was true that I grew up in a foster home and didn't go to high school, I couldn't argue back. As I was about to leave, unable to stand the atmosphere, Mr. Harris raised his voice. "Todd, you don't understand anything. Luke is working honorably now and contributing to society. It's wrong to call someone like that poor." Hearing Mr. Harris's words, Todd burst into laughter. "If you say that, everyone is working. It's not just Luke contributing to society. I'm running a company and running for city council. I'm contributing more to society, right?" The classmates were impressed by Todd's words. "Wow, Todd. Running for city council, that's amazing." Mr. Harris sighed. "Todd, you might be impressive, But you only took over your parents' company, right? You didn't work hard to become president. Luke built his own company from scratch. That effort is something extraordinary. When Mr. Harris said that, Todd and the other classmates were wide-eyed. An incompetent person as a president? What kind of prehab shed is your company in? This isn't child's play. The once lively reunion hall fell completely silent with Todd's words. Some classmates looked at Todd in disbelief. Huh? Prefab? I said in confusion, and Todd started laughing. Yeah. He's probably just the president of a tiny company, right? How rude could Todd be? He had no idea about my company, yet he said such things. As I thought that, Todd said something surprising. Hey everyone, let's go check out Luke's company after the reunion. The hall was abuzz with Todd's words, and some classmates eagerly agreed. They probably wanted to confirm if it was a prefab shed and mock me for it. I could see right through Todd's scheme. Seeing the reaction of some classmates, Todd said, "We'll come over. Entertain us. We're going out of our way to see your company. How presumptuous to demand hospitality when they're coming uninvited. I can only offer tea, is that okay?" Yeah, that's fine. It's probably just a tiny company that can only offer tea, right? I was too stunned to say anything. Mr. Harris also seemed taken aback. The reunion continued, and I was able to congratulate Mr. Harris on his retirement. As I was leaving, Mr. Harris whispered to me, "I'm so glad you've become such a strong man, Luke. You won't lose to Todd. Hold your head high and be proud." With those final words from Mr. Harris as a teacher, I felt empowered. I'll never lose to Todd. I even feel like I'm already ahead of him. When I said that, Mr. Harris smiled and left the venue. Meeting Mr. Harris had been invaluable to me. I couldn't help but hope that Mr. Harris would stay healthy and live a long life. After the reunion ended and everyone was heading home, Todd approached me with a few classmates. "So, let's go see your company. There's nothing interesting to see at my company," I said, but Todd laughed. "Well, we'll go check it out anyway." Todd was determined to see my company. Reluctantly, I walked with Todd and a few classmates to my company, which was not far from the venue. A few minutes later, we arrived in front of my company. Todd started laughing. "See, your company looks like a shack." Todd was pointing at a small house and laughing. He seemed to be mistaken. I immediately pointed to the large building next to it. "What are you talking about?" "My company is over there." "Huh?" Todd and the classmates were stunned. "Isn't this a famous venture company? Is Luke the president here?" "If that's true, Luke, that's amazing," the classmates exclaimed in delight. Todd, on the other hand, was in disbelief. "No way. Luke only has a middle school education. He must be lying. Why would I need to lie?" This was an undeniable fact. No matter what I said, Todd wouldn't believe me. I thought it was no use. As I was thinking this, a woman came running towards me from the entrance of the company. "Did you enjoy the reunion? I wish I could have attended too." It was Julia. Seeing Julia, Todd and the classmates were shocked. "Why is Julia, the most popular girl in class, here?" Todd was so surprised that his voice was trembling. "I'm the president's secretary here now. And the president is Luke, right?" The classmates were leaning in, eager to know the truth. Julia started laughing. "What are you talking about? Of course, Luke is the president." Hearing this, Todd looked like he was about to faint from shock. After graduating middle school, I got a job at a nearby factory. But within a few years, I was laid off because I only had a middle school education. Just when I was happy to finally live an independent life, I lost my job. After that, I immediately looked for another job, but the barrier of having only a middle school education was high. No company would interview me after just seeing my resume. I was frustrated. Even with just a middle school education, I was good at studying and could do many jobs. Why wouldn't anyone hire me? I was filled with a sense of helplessness. At that time, I suddenly remembered something Mr. Harris had said. He said that if you aim high, you can achieve it. If no company would hire me, I would create my own. Thinking that, I immediately took action. Having never studied business management, I devoured countless specialized books and finally established my current company. When I first started, I worked alone in my apartment. Managing a company meant I had to handle everything from finances to clients by myself. The workload was unimaginable. I worked tirelessly, hardly sleeping. It was a few years into running the company that it started gaining traction. The number of employees grew, and we rented an office, slightly expanding the company's size. It was around that time that I reunited with Julia. Julia worked for one of my company's clients and came to my company for a business meeting. Back in middle school, Julia often protected me from Todd's teasing. She was my first love back then. Seeing her in front of me, I couldn't believe my eyes and immediately asked her out for tea. We hit it off, started dating, and eventually got married. Now, Julia helps me as the company's secretary. Julia glared at Todd. Are you surprised that Luke, whom you used to tease as a poor guy, is now the president of a leading company in the industry? Julia said calmly. Todd was clearly agitated. No, that's not it. But a company founded by a poor, middle school graduate like Luke won't last long, will it? I just feel sorry for him. Julia's face twisted in anger. Are you serious? Todd, your company does business with Luke's company. If we cut ties with you, your company would suffer greatly. Why don't you show some gratitude to Luke? Todd turned pale upon hearing Julia's words. The deal with Luke's company was something the previous president arranged. But mixing business with personal matters isn't good. I have nothing to thank Luke for. Why should I thank a middle school graduate like him? I wasn't seeking gratitude, but his words were too harsh. When Todd said that, Julia looked at him in disbelief. Then, she erupted in anger. You don't understand anything. I never thought you could be such a horrible person. When Julia said that, Todd said something outrageous. Why don't you work at my company instead of this middle school graduate's? I'll treat you well as my secretary. Plus, I'm the next city council candidate. I have a promising future. Julia sighed. I refuse. I want to stay by my husband Luke's side. Todd's eyes widened at this. Huh? Luke is your husband. The classmates were also shocked. Yes, he is. Is there a problem? Julia said, taunting Todd. Julia, the most popular girl in class, marrying a middle school graduate like him. It's a pity. Don't you all think so? Todd tried to get the classmates to agree, but none of them did. When I become a city council member, I plan to get rid of people like Luke who work with just a middle school education from this town. What is this guy talking about? I was genuinely angry. I had reached my limit. I took a deep breath and raised my voice. I will never allow that. There's no way someone like you could become a city council member. Huh? My company has been active in this town for years. Everyone will vote for me. Don't talk nonsense. Todd's face was getting redder. Then, Julia raised her voice, not backing down. Hey, you know my father is a city council member, right? He has been for years and is loved by the residents. Of course, I know that. Luke is also running for city council with my father's endorsement, Julia said. Todd and the classmates looked at us in disbelief. Is that true? There's no way Luke could get elected as a city council member. Todd seemed to think I was joking about running for city council. Yes, Julia's father, who was a city council member, had indeed encouraged me to run. At first, I thought there was no way I could become a city council member. But if becoming one would improve this town, I wanted to do it. Oh, really? I've heard rumors that Todd uses his company's money to live it up and that he has quite the nightlife despite having a wife. Julia said with a knowing smile. The classmates exchanged glances. Who said that? Just town gossip. This town has many eyes. You should be more careful. Trust is the most important thing for a city council member. Well, I have work to do, Julia said as she walked into the company. Todd bit his lower lip in frustration. I appreciate the business we've done up to now, but as of today, we're canceling our dealings with your company. I don't want to do business with a company that can't show gratitude, I said. What? I told you, business and personal matters are separate. Keep the business going. I was shocked at Todd's condescending tone. Any normal person would apologize. Instead, Todd was getting angry. The classmates watched the scene unfold with bated breath. Staying calm, I said, no, the deal is off. That's final. Now, I have work to do, so I'm leaving. Suddenly, Todd started apologizing. Sorry, my tone was off. Don't cancel the deal. We're friends, right? Let's keep doing business together. When did Todd and I become friends? Todd's shallowness is exhausting. I walked away without looking back, and the classmates awkwardly dispersed. Todd stood there, stunned. The city council general election was held 2 weeks later. To my surprise, I was elected as a city council member. I ran on a platform of creating a town where children wouldn't struggle. I was thrilled that my message reached the citizens. Many residents celebrated my election. On the other hand, Todd lost to me by a large margin and was not elected. Someone who looks down on others could never represent the citizens. It was an expected result. It was said that Todd collapsed to his knees in shock after losing. After our company cut ties, Todd's company's performance plummeted. The company's size was reduced, and it continued to run at a loss. Despite numerous apologies from Todd, I never met him again. His son Ryan, ashamed of his father's downfall, stopped attending school and became reclusive. If Ryan ever realizes he shouldn't follow in his father's footsteps and decides to change, I want to create a society where he can find support when he needs it. They proved that a boastful person with money doesn't always have a bright future. Meanwhile, I stay busy as the company president. I'm always busy, but Julia supports me wholeheartedly, and I'm happy every day. Eugene excels in French and will study abroad next year. Julia and I will always support Eugene as he gets closer to his dreams. My life has been full of hardships, but God never gives us trials we can't overcome. I will continue to walk through the rest of my life with gratitude, working hard every step of the way.